America lost its stamina and lost its victory in the 60s when the civil rights order become effective. That's whenever America started going downhill. And it's going to continue to go downhill until we do something about it.
Barry Black is a Ku Klux Klan leader from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. In 1998, he was arrested and convicted in Virginia for violating a statute that prohibited burning a cross. His case eventually was decided by the Supreme Court in an important First Amendment decision.
I heard the initial call to one of my road deputies to check a group of people in the Cana section of Carroll County.
It was a Klan meeting, and I thought, well, that's strange around here.
We're out in the middle of a cow pasture. We're not going to bother nobody. This is a private gathering.
All of a sudden, the sky just lit up. It was a big cross being burned.
We like to signify to everyone that Christ is alive and Christ is well, even if it's just in our hearts and not in yours.
It was a moral outrage. I didn't want that to happen in my county.
I got an email that a Klansman had been arrested for cross burning. So I called and said, if you need somebody to take this case, I'll take it.
We felt it was important that a message was sent that cross burning in Virginia is illegal and will not be tolerated.
It was a law that punished threats, but it didn't punish all kinds of threats. It was only when you used this one symbol that you could be prosecuted.
Burning cross, based on 100 years of usage, is a sign of intimidation, a threat of violence soon to come.
I can't just say, hey, no, here's $2,500, forget it. If I did that, I'm letting my race down. I have to make people know that the Constitution of the United States of America still means something.
Baugh describes what had happened leading up to Black's arrest.
The allegation was that the Klansmen came down from Pennsylvania, met with the Klansmen here, and they decided to have a rally. They rented a site where they were going to have their rally, and the owner of the property was there. A little old lady was sitting up on the porch watching them, and they served hot dogs and hamburgers and railed on about, streets running red with blood and all this sort of stuff. And at the conclusion, they put their outfits on and they erect their Porto cross, which was like a 30-foot metal cross wrapped with rags. And I was going to say burned it. I have learned that if you want to know if someone's a Klansman, ask them about that process, and they'll say, no, it's a cross lighting. Burning is about destruction. Lighting is illumination. That's when you know you're talking to a Klansman.
Some lawyers might hesitate to represent someone whose views clashed with their own. David Baugh, a successful African-American lawyer in Richmond, Virginia, was faced with what for many might be a tough choice when a potential client was a leader of the Ku Klux Klan. But Baugh, an active member of the American Civil Liberties Union, knew from personal experience the importance of having a good lawyer.
I went to an historically black college for undergrad, and about 1970, Virginia decided that it wasn't going to meet its integration guidelines for its colleges. So what it decided to do was to take some of the black schools and break them up and move them to white schools. And we said, no, you're not. So there were a series of demonstrations, and I ended up getting expelled. And while sitting in court, watching my ACLU lawyers defend me, I thought, this looks like something I ought to be doing. So I decided to go to law school my senior year.
After graduating from law school, Baugh started practicing criminal law. He was willing to take controversial cases to protect what he thought were important principles.
I got an email that a Klansman in the western part of the state had been arrested for cross burning. It is illegal to burn a cross with intent to intimidate. And anytime you burn a cross, there's a presumption that there is an intent to intimidate. Kind of makes it easy to nail it. So I read this statute and I went, how in the name of all that's good and holy can that pass constitutional muster? So I called and said, if you need somebody to take this case, I'll take it. A lot of people say, well, how could you defend a Klansman? It's a no-brainer. I understand that the Constitution is a set of principles, and if you're going to protect my right to say what I want to say, I have to defend that guy. It's easy to defend a friend, but when an enemy is having the principles you believe in violated, that's a chance to do the right thing.
Rod Smola, a law professor specializing in constitutional law, also volunteered to work on the case.
Once we decided to take it, of course, the question on the table, sitting around thinking about it, was will this person, Barry Black, head of the Ku Klux Klan, accept as his legal team a liberal white lawyer, law professor, and a well-known African-American lawyer? I actually said, we probably better let him know, David, that you're black. But he didn't have any problem with it. He said, sure, fine, I appreciate the representation, and we took it from there.
The case had already generated lots of publicity. Once Baugh took the case, there was a news story. An African-American lawyer was representing a Klansman.
I was being interviewed, and they said, well, what's it like representing someone who wouldn't invite you to their house for a meal? I've never been to a client's house for a meal. I've never been to my doctor's house for a meal. It's a professional relationship. People assume that when you undertake the defense of someone in a criminal case, that you endorse or condone the behavior or allegations against your client. If Mr. Black had been in a horrible accident being driven back to Pennsylvania and was taken to a hospital in this state, his life could have been saved by a black doctor, a Pakistani doctor, a Jewish doctor. No one would say anything about it. No one would care. But because the lawyer comes in, they go, aha. If you're undertaking a case and you feel a need to distance yourself from your client, that's a conflict. Well, I didn't think anyone was going to accuse me of being a closet Klansman. So I thought I was the perfect person for the case.
Not that Baugh didn't have second thoughts.
When you do things because of principle or professionalism, and that's what it is, every once in a while you stop and think, wait a minute, what the hell was I thinking? Especially when this press started coming in. And I called my dad within 24 hours because he's not a lawyer. He's a fighter pilot, a retired colonel. And I said, I just took this case. He said, you ought to. Big deal.
Baugh recalls when he first met Barry Black.
He thought that, he would show himself to be a real nice guy and all that sort of stuff. And I explained to him, I said, no, wait. You have the right to be a bigot. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to have a kumbaya moment. I'm not trying to convert you. You have a right to say that, and my job is to protect you.
As an initial step, Baugh needed to develop a strategy for the case.
When looking at a criminal case, the first defense is the acts did not occur. The next one is if they did occur, there's an explanation. The third one is the acts occurred. There is no legal explanation, such as an affirmative defense. Therefore, I have to whack the statute. Because I couldn't say he didn't burn a cross, and I couldn't very well say that he hadn't violated the statute, the way the statute was written with the presumption thrown in there. So the only challenge was to challenge the statute.
Baugh's challenge to the statute was based on freedom of speech under the First Amendment.
No one in a free society has the right to walk around feeling comfortable or not intimidated or to feel warm and huggy and fuzzy. In a country like ours, you have the right to say what you want to say. Well, the corresponding responsibility is you have to listen to crap that you don't want to hear. Mr. Black had the right to stand in the middle of a field and say, I hate all African Americans, or I hate Jews. He can say that. No one would say anything about it. He could hold up a sign, I hate all African Americans, I hate all Jews. That should be protected. Well, the question is, can he symbolically make the same statement? And the answer is yes. One of the scary things about a democracy is dependent upon an educated and intelligent populace in order to succeed, which means every idea needs to be discussed. Every idea needs to be debated so we can decide whether or not it's an idea we want to keep or an idea we want to chuck.